Firefighters focus their efforts on protecting lives and property from the effects of fire and medical emergencies. Police officers also protect lives and property while struggling to reduce crime. Since 1885, not one was hired without the okay of the Fire and Police Commission. Established 100 years ago, it's the oldest civil service authority in the state, the oldest Fire and Police Commission in the country. The 5 civilian commissioners with a diversity of backgrounds are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. They have the ultimate hiring, policy oversight, and rulemaking authority for both police and fire departments. Recruitment and training a high priority.
With the ladders the way they were, and you didn't pull it all out, and it got hung up. So that was a problem there. Right, but that's not going to happen again, right? No. Did you see what the second team did?
For 16 weeks, the fire recruits are put through the kinds of physical and mental demands that transform them into professional firefighters and emergency medical technicians.
They're learning the team concept now when they come out here into the field. Back at the training academy, they learned each one of these evolutions. Raising a ladder, just learned how to raise a ladder. They would learn how to lay out a hose line. They would learn how to put their self-contained breathing apparatus on. They would learn how to chop with an axe, okay? When they come out to the field and they come to these buildings, they learn how to do all those things at one time. They put it all together now into that operation that they'll be performing when they go out into the field. To say firefighting is a physically demanding job is a very fair statement, but a lot of things that people don't understand, it's a very academically demanding job too. Our job has changed over the years. The advent of emergency medical services and the training that the firefighters receive along those lines is very intense training. The firefighting training itself, the firefighters in the city of Milwaukee are trained to they're certified by the state of Wisconsin as in the highest level of firefighting training before they even leave the training school, before they even go out into the field. And when you talk to firefighters, most of them respond, I just did my job, okay? I didn't do anything special, I just did my job. I didn't think about it, I did it. And that's what the training does. You know, it all comes back to the training. They didn't have to think of what they were doing. They knew what to do. And that was because of the way they were trained and, of course, the experience that they've gained over the number of years in the field.
The city of Milwaukee is somewhat unique in that both police and fire departments share a training facility, and both are proud of their recruits.
The people who come here, we like to say they're self-selected. The folks who come here, I don't think they're naive or have pie in the sky sort of viewpoint of what they're coming into. They recognize how difficult police work is, and those who come in are dedicated to being public servants.
New police officers spend a lot of time doing those things we'd expect to see them doing. But they also spend a great deal of time in the classroom, learning report writing and many other subjects.
Well, the recruit coming here comes into a very comprehensive 23-week training program before we're ready to send them out on the streets as full-fledged police officers. They learn all the academics necessary to be police officers, training in subjects such as criminal law, principles of arrest, search and seizure, constitutional law, city ordinances, traffic law, first responder, first aid. It's very encompassing. Rules and regulations, police ethics is a very extensive bit of training on cultural diversity, how to talk to folks. So we have a course on verbal judo. The training just transcends what most people really understand. There's the physical component, obviously. Police work is physically demanding. So we have a very physically demanding training program there, defensive and arrest tactics, how to handcuff people, how to deal with combative suspects, firearms training, obviously, and of course, how to drive an emergency vehicle, how to respond in those types of situations. So for 23 weeks, we keep them very, very busy. Everything a police officer does ends up in court one way or another. They have to be on top of their game all the time. So the training has to be as in-depth, as comprehensive as possible so that when folks call for help, we have the tools necessary to help them.
The Fire and Police Commission also has the duty to respond to concerns and complaints from private citizens. To make the process less complicated and intimidating, the Commission moved from the 7th floor of the Police Administration Building, the same floor as the police chief, to first-floor offices at 809 North Broadway. It was an effort to establish a more user-friendly atmosphere and remind citizens that the Commission is independent from the chiefs. Michael Soika has a unique perspective on relations between the community and its fire and police departments. He is a member of the Commission, also a community activist, executive director of the Lisbon Avenue Neighborhood Development Corporation, formed originally to develop family-supporting jobs.
Since that time, we've realized that creating businesses isn't the only thing that's going to make this neighborhood as good as any neighborhood in Milwaukee, that you have to deal with the vacant houses and you have to deal with the crime and the sanitation issues and the absentee landlords. And we've got into a full-blown neighborhood revitalization program.
Based in the former St. Thomas Catholic Church, the group has developed a community center, is working on a community school, is providing medical care from a health center on Lisbon Avenue.
Hello, Lisbon Rainbow Community Health Center, Danita speaking. Hi, darling.
The health center is serving nearly 400 people a month, and Soika says the efforts to improve the neighborhood may have led to his appointment by the mayor.
He knew that I was working here. He knew that I had networks into the neighborhood, and that I could kind of bridge the gap between both worlds, is my sense of what he was looking for. What are the issues in the neighborhood here as it relates to the Fire and Police Commission? I think it's the issues that you see in any neighborhood. People want good police protection, and they want police protection provided with respect. And sometimes that's hard when you're dealing with the criminal element, but that's what people want.
There are problems in the community, but also efforts to improve public safety and community relations. Firefighters are making our neighborhoods safer through their smoke detector installation program, saving the lives of our children through the Survive Alive House. Police officers are becoming more acquainted with the community with bike and foot patrols and living in the neighborhoods in which they work. All are proud of what they do.
We're trained well. We've got the veteran, experienced officers out in the field, and if you've got the experience and you've got the training, you're going to be a good department.
We're cutting edge here. We're responding to the needs of the city. It's not for any small reason that Milwaukee is the safest city of its size in the country.
I think the commission is very good for the city of Milwaukee. If you look at the makeup of the commission, it's distributed, racially well, and experience-wise distributed well. You have an ex-inspector of police, you've got community activists, you've got people who are active on the South Side and in the Hispanic neighborhood, and I think that you get a sounding of the city of Milwaukee through the Fire and Police Commission.
Dedicated in December of 1895, Milwaukee City Hall is one of the most distinctive municipal buildings in the country. At 350 feet, 393 to the top of the flagpole, the impressive Flemish Renaissance-style building is also one of the tallest. It was the third tallest structure in the nation when completed, following years of quarreling about its location, its design, and its cost.
It's quite a big deal. It was one of the biggest public works projects of that time, and of course every section of the city, all three sections, Walker's Point, the west side of the downtown and the east side of the downtown, all wanted it. And so the aldermen couldn't get together and agree on a location for it, and so finally, after many, many votes, the decision was made just to put it where the old city hall had always been, which is right where we are today.
The site was first occupied by Market Hall with its government offices, a public market, and German theatrical groups. It was razed 1 month before construction began for the new building. Built on former wild rice marshland, the building is supported by a forest of some 2,500 wood pilings. Construction went on for about 2 years. Total cost for building and furniture just over $1 million. The man who designed the building was Henry Koch, a Milwaukee architect chosen in a national competition. Beverly Koch of Bayview is a granddaughter of the architect. She didn't know her grandfather, who died in 1910, but during a visit to City Hall described him as the family celebrity.
Within the family, everybody was very proud, but we very seldom really talked about it to outsiders. Most people, I don't think, knew about him or knew that we related to him. So I think this is a nice opportunity to recognize him.
But he did have, at least within the family, a lot of stature. You did.
Oh my! I'll say he did. Of course, everybody looked up to Henry Koch. I mean, how many people do all those things? It was wonderful.
You can't read about community events on the tower anymore, but the rest of the exterior has changed little over the last 100 years. The 18-foot diameter clock in the bell tower has been modified. It was converted from pneumatic power to electricity in 1922, remodeled and illuminated in 1932. In the early 1900s, right below these arches, the home of city government was also a residence. City engineer Charles Johnson and his family lived in an apartment on the 9th floor. A long debate preceded installation of the tower bell, about 8 feet high and over 8 feet in diameter, named Solomon Juneau after our first mayor. The bronze bell weighs over 22,000 pounds. In comparison, the Liberty Bell weighs just over 2,000 pounds.
They first rang it for New Year's Eve, 1897, and then they rang it on the hour, every hour, until 1925, when there are various stories as to why they silenced it. The official story is that the vibrations from the bell were weakening the tower, and so they stopped ringing it. Now they only ring it on the 4th of July and a few other occasions. The other story is that the mayor's office, which is below in the base of the bell tower, the mayor was simply bothered by the bell ringing every hour, and so he just ordered it silenced. I don't know which one is the true story.
The bell was silent from 1925 to 1940, when Mayor Carl Zeidler started the custom of ringing it on the 4th of July. The interior has seen many alterations. The Common Council chamber, designed by Alderman Carl Minkley, was remodeled in 1931, completely refurbished a couple of years ago. The classic columns and the many decorative elements are all meant to highlight virtues of civil government, to portray the theme of human endeavor and progress. 2 stained-glass windows, a federal WPA project in the 1930s, were restored and installed in 1978. There have been major renovations of offices and public meeting rooms to meet the demands of modern office equipment, computers, televised coverage of meetings, and modern security needs. The 8-story open-air atrium in the center is often described as coffin-shaped, with some justification for that description. 7 people died in a series of suicides during the Great Depression. An 8th died of a stroke after a jumper landed next to him.
And so in 1940, they screened it off with wire, which remained in place so that you couldn't jump over the railings, and that remained in place until Mayor Norquist's administration in recent years when he had it removed.
A stroll around the landmark today shows that while updating has been done, the history and character of the novel City Hall remains. Original ornamental works of cast iron and bronze and other elaborate features are well maintained and preserved.
It's still a good building and probably can stand another 100 years. And all his buildings were like that. They've stood the test of time, I should say. And it's quite an honor.
Beverly remembers being taken as a child to see examples of her grandfather's work. He designed more than 300 buildings in 10 states, including a few in Milwaukee you might recognize.
He did do the Wells Building, the Pfister Hotel, the Jesu Church, Calvary Presbyterian Church, the Turner Hall, which is now being reconstructed.
The German-born architect started his career after serving as a mapmaker in the Civil War. He also designed the Old Ward Theater and other buildings at the Zablocki Medical Center.
Presently, we're trying to preserve those buildings. See, they're kind of going down, and so we're working to see if they can be restored. So that would be a nice recognition.
Happy birthday, dear City Hall. Happy birthday to you.
Beverly helped cut the cake when the Milwaukee Press Club hosted a party for the odd-shaped building and the architect who designed it. City officials, civic leaders, and many other Milwaukeeans joined in celebrating the landmark's 100th birthday. City Hall is a landmark building in more than one respect. It is a symbol of Milwaukee, a federal, state, and local historic landmark, architecturally recognized as one of the top 10 city halls in the country.
I think what really makes the City Hall significant is the fact that it is a building that was designed to symbolize what Milwaukee was at the time it was built. And at the time it was built, Milwaukee was the most German city in the United States. And so the City Hall was modeled after the city halls, the Rathausers, that they were building in German cities at that time. And it was designed not to imitate an American building, but to in fact imitate a German city hall. And this is absolutely unique in the United States.
Among the biggest and the best 100 years ago, Milwaukee City Hall no longer dominates the skyline, but it remains among our most recognizable emblems, and it's inspired the designs of several more modern structures nearby. 100 years old, full of history, still making history as it enters its second century. Close range, it might look a bit like a gigantic mechanical insect or an alien being from another planet. But this is a self-propelled color television camera, one of two high-tech soldiers in the battle to clean, maintain, and repair Milwaukee's sewer system.
It's a camera that can operate without having pulleys on both ends of it. A normal camera has a pulley on both ends, and it can be pulled both forward and backward. The crawler camera just has a cable on the back, and it crawls in forward and backwards. It's used in areas where we don't want to or can't string a line to pull a camera. If a sewer is plugged or blocked, there's no access on the other end, we can use our crawler camera.
The Department of Public Works Division of Street and Sewer Maintenance is responsible for maintaining the city's approximately 2,500 miles of sanitary, combined, and storm sewers. While the manhole provides access to the concrete silo built over the sewer, it doesn't provide physical access to the sewer itself. So in some cases, about 150 miles of sewer a year, crews drop a small TV camera into the sewer to inspect for cave-ins or blockages. In this particular instance, they're using a combination of the two devices in a 15-inch sewer about 12 feet underground.
We're looking for the structural condition on the inside of the sewer. We're looking for cracks, breaks, how the joints look, how the sewer is aligned, the condition of the surface on the inside of the sewer, how the flow conditions, how much dirt is in it, how if there's any dips or sags in the sewer. And it's all videotaped, so it can be reviewed later generally by the Bureau of Engineers.
Are you looking at the city portion of the sewer alone, or can you look at a homeowner's connection as well?
We can see a portion of the homeowner's lateral, but in general we're looking at the main sewer. We do have a rotating head camera, and we can look a little bit up the lateral, but the lateral comes in on a 45-degree angle, and we can only see about 2 or 4 feet of it normally, so we can't see the whole lateral. We do have a little mini camera that we can actually push through a lateral, and plumbers have those too, so you can look at laterals also.
So if it's a lateral problem, it's a private plumber with his own camera?
Correct, yeah, we're not in competition with them, and the lateral is the homeowner's responsibility entirely from the property to where it enters the main sewer. A lot of people don't realize that. They think it ends at the property line, but in actuality it goes all the way out to the main sewer, which is generally located in the center of the roadway.
These eyes can go where no eyes could before. For the city, it means the opportunity to be more efficient, to have greater control over repair and maintenance costs. In the days before the cameras were available, maintenance crews inspected the sewers visually using a set of mirrors.
And although you could see in between manholes, you couldn't see all of the connections. You couldn't see the location of the connections. You couldn't really see the minor conditions. You could, if something was broke down, you could see that, but then you didn't know exactly where it was. If it was something we had to repair and dig up, we weren't certain where the defect was. Now we can pinpoint it right down to the foot.
Pinpointing the problem down to the foot can be very important for taxpayers. Costs for digging up a portion of street are in the $3,000 to $4,000 range, so the camera saves time and money.
And it also allows the Bureau of Engineers to place a condition rating on the entire sewer system, so that we know really what the whole system, what the condition of the whole system is in the city of Milwaukee.
While the special TV cameras are usually used to determine the exact location of an obstruction or break in the sewer, they are often used prior to paving projects to check for potential problems. So next time you see this special truck idling by a manhole, you'll know there's work going on inside and underground. The Legislative Reference Bureau is located in the lower level of Milwaukee City Hall. It's a special library, a storehouse of information on government. Specializing in municipal and urban affairs, the LRB offers a full range of library services, quite often to the general public, primarily to those in city government.
More than 20 years ago, the Common Council commissioned a study trying to determine what kind of support services they needed to become a more informed decision-making body. And the major request that came out of that was that they needed more research and reference support, and that they should model that support after the State of Wisconsin Legislative Reference Bureau. Nonpartisan support available to all council members. So what they did was they took the Municipal Reference Library, which was part of the library system, which was a collection of documents and books dealing with municipal government, and they transferred that library under the city clerk's office and added a research component to it.
The LRB maintains a collection of 50,000 books and materials relating to municipal government. It's the place to check for official city reports since the mid-19th century, to review old and new laws, take a look at how Milwaukee became a city with a copy of the original state charter from 1846. The Bureau has 3 service areas: legislative, fiscal review, and library. The Legislative Services staff provides research services to the Common Council on a wide variety of issues. They conduct surveys, prepare reports, and provide analysis of urban issues of interest to the council.
Council members have ideas as to what kind of legislation they would like to see, and the legislative analysts draft the legislation for the council member consideration. The analysts also perform what we call legislative research. Council members are interested in various trends and developments. They often want to try on a new idea. Can you give us information about this trend or development in the state, around the country? Get us information in terms of, is this possible? Give us some pros and cons. Give us some information so we can try on an idea, we can analyze an idea before we can see whether we want to put it forward here in Milwaukee.
Analysts have researched what other cities are doing to ensure safe water supplies. Studies of graffiti in other communities led to several new laws in our city. They evaluated the Wisconsin Center by analyzing the impact of other new convention centers. The second service area of the Bureau is the Fiscal Review section. Staff members provide budget and fiscal analysis to Common Council committees and individual council members. That includes a review of the budget submitted by the mayor.
Up until 1988, the budget department served both the mayor and council. With the advent of cabinet form of government, which meant that the budget department was responsible to the mayor, accountable to the mayor, and not to the Common Council, the Common Council deemed it necessary to have their own budget staff, their own fiscal staff. So they created a fiscal staff within the Legislative Reference Bureau, the fiscal analysts. The analysts review the mayor's executive budget recommendations, and they also analyze all Common Council files during the course of the year in terms of the fiscal impact.
The Library Services section is the third primary service area of the LRB and the area most accessible by the general public. Librarians provide a wide array of information and rely on a wide variety of reference tools. They include books and newspapers and non-text sources, such as commercial online databases, the Internet, and CD-ROMs. The LRB also provides government information to the public through OmniFest, the local community computer network.
The Bureau is considered to be the official depository for city documents. So you will find annual reports of departments, special reports, the minutes of boards and commissions. This section also maintains a collection of documents dealing with municipal affairs, information on police, fire, building inspection, licenses, and so on. This is available to council members, to city departments, but also the general public as well. You may think of us as a legislative-ready reference. Citizens can walk in, they can call up, they can fax in their questions, and we will get back to them in any form. We will fax it back to them, we will mail it, we will copy it, we will read it over the phone.